I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Frankfurt Plant Board for June 2024. It's Tuesday, June 18th at 5 o'clock in the community room in the administration building. And with that, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Member DeLong?
Here.
Member Keevan?
Here.
Member Mason?
Here.
Member Snyder?
Here.
Member Denton Mitchell?
Here.
We have a quorum. Next item of business is action item approval of the minutes for June 5th, 2024 special meeting. Everybody should have those in front of them. Do we have any changes or corrections? If not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. With the board's approval, because we've got people here to make some presentations and we've got some people on a Zoom, I'd like to propose moving item 3.1 next and item 16 next. But before we do it, we've got the public hearing scheduled and then public comment. Kathy, is there anybody here to testify either on the public hearing or in the public comment?
People walked in. I think we've got
We
some
have
people.
one gentleman, Kevin
Yeah.
O'Mara, who's here that said he may want to
Is that on the public hearing or on public comment?
I believe it's on the
And
public.
Andy's here too.
Okay, and
He
Andy
has signed
McDonald's here
up,
too,
yeah.
okay.
Okay. So with that, rather than ask those people to wait, we'll go on then and do item 2.1.
Okay.
Conduct public hearing regarding electric tariff revisions related to area lighting, net metering applications, and transfer of credits in the time of use residential pilot. Mr. Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This hearing will come to order. My name is John Snyder, and I've been requested by the board to conduct this hearing. With me today are board members and staff of the Frankfurt Electric and Water Plant Board. We're here to receive comments regarding three issues. One, the electric tariff revisions related to area lighting. Two, the net metering application and transfer of credit changes. And three, a time of use rate. This public hearing was advertised in accordance with regulations for public notification and appeared in the weekend, June 7th and 8th, 2024 edition of the State Journal newspaper. To conduct this hearing in an organized fashion, we've asked that anyone wishing to comment register via email with Kathy Poe or Kathy Lindsay. And this hearing will be conducted informally and voluntarily by the Frankfurt Electric Water Plant Board in order to accept comments on the above items. Both oral and written comments will be accepted. Any and all persons present here today who wish to make a statement will be allowed to do so. And if you have a written statement to accompany your oral presentation, a copy of the written statement should be presented to the board prior to your presentation. If necessary, I will interrupt and request the presentation. Oral presentation should be limited no more than 3 minutes, and if necessary, I'll interrupt and request presentation to be completed due to the time limit. We may also ask questions of any person presenting oral comments if it's necessary to clarify the nature or substance of the comments. The board reserves the right to answer questions at a later date, and it is the job of the board to fairly consider various points of view and information. We want public input and involvement and hope you do not find our standard procedures to be restrictive. Additionally, oral comments and written comments will be accepted and considered if they are submitted no later than the end of the normal business hours on Friday, August 19th, 2024. To submit a comment, please contact FPB at 352-4372 or at www.fpb.cc. Before we turn the floor over to comments, Travis McCullough will provide a summary of the details. Travis?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As was mentioned before, so in terms of the electric tariff changes that are up for discussion, we have three items to cover. The first one being area lighting. So last year we went through a cost of service study, adjusted all of our rates, including our base electric rates and our lighting rates. There was a typo that just kind of got carried through from the beginning to the end. So item one, the area lighting, essentially just fixing a typo. We had an old rate in there for a new fixture. It needs to be corrected. Okay, so that's item one, area lighting. Net metering, two items up for discussion on net metering. First of all, the tariff requires a $10 application fee if you're applying to be a net metering customer. At this point, it's always been there. I think it's just kind of cumbersome, just makes it more difficult. It's not really of any use to keep that $10 fee in there. So I propose we just eliminate that fee. The second item, wanted to clarify the terms related to transfer of energy credits. So this would be in an instance if you say you're a residential customer and you have 2 meters, your home and your garage. if you have solar on one but not the other, and you want to be able to transfer your excess credits between accounts, this tariff change would clarify and allow for that. The restrictions being one of those accounts has to be a residential customer. Again, that's the board's pleasure on that, but that's kind of what I think makes sense to everyone. So again, right now the tariff is somewhat vague on this issue. It's always kind of been standard practice that there's no transfer of credits, but I think with these restrictions, I think it's doable. So.
With the,
Go ahead, John.
does the residential and the other property have to be on the same parcel?
One property, one continuous parcel, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So there would have to be some kind of process that the customer would make a request for the transfer to be allowed under their accounts. We would have to do a little checking to make sure everything kind of agreed with the policy, but yeah. To your point, it would have to be on the same property. Okay. Final one, time of use rates. This is one Craig from 1898 was in a couple of months ago, did the presentation on time of use rates. It's an item we started really talking about in earnest several months ago when we were talking about some of the purpose standards. Even though we don't necessarily have to have a time of use rate, we thought it was a good practice. Some customers will like it, so we're proposing it as a voluntary residential rate. It would be a 3-tiered rate, so you would have an on-peak, an off-peak, and a super off-peak rate. So the intent is for those customers that really watch their usage, like to control their usage, and in turn like to be able to control their bills, this gives them a little bit more control over their electric bill. If you're someone that is willing to use more off-peak, so during the summer, those late evening hours after we're off our system peak, during the winter, later part of the day when it warms up a little bit, if you're able to use the most of your electricity during those periods, we can kind of pass those savings on to the customer. So that's the idea. Also beneficial to EV customers. If they can fill up at night, you can save a lot of money, obviously, charging up your electric vehicle. So that's another use case for it. During our last discussions, we kicked around the idea of doing it as a pilot program. I think that kind of makes sense at first. That way we can verify, number one, the metering. It'll be new in terms of a meter program and also the billing. So kind of keep it small. I propose here 200 customers. I think that's manageable. We're 20,000-ish total residential customers. So again, that was kind of my proposal. If the board has other thoughts, of course, we can adjust on that. But so in a sense, that's the concept. I've proposed in the hearing notice making these effective on September 1st. That would give us a little more time just to test out the metering and billing. Same for the net metering. We want to make sure everything's kind of in place on the back end. So, if everything kind of goes according to plan, we would not vote on this next month, but maybe vote on it in August and then make the policy effective September 1st.
Travis, I do have one question. How long would you envision the pilot project? When do you think we'll be of a mind to say, we've looked at this long enough, we think we can open this up? Is this something we will open up? Of course, this is all voluntary and,
Correct.
we're not going to force anybody to do this, but, if hopefully we get those folks, how long do you think it'll take to give us an idea of whether we can scale up?
Realistically, I'm thinking probably, a few 6 months ish.
6 months to a year, maybe?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
We may have to adjust depending on customer demand. If those fill up quick and people are knocking at the door, then, of course, we can adjust if needed. But really, you go through a few billing cycles. There are either problems or there aren't. That seems reasonable to me. We'll probably also need to have some discussion. Maybe down the road do a study. Do we want to open it up to commercial large power users? We've had these conversations with some of our really large customers, or at least I've had a few, and I haven't by no means talked to all of them, but the few I talked to, we say, hey, if you can you run off our system peak? Maybe we can have some savings we can pass on to you. I have not seen a lot of interest. That's not to say it's not out there. I'm sure there's some that would like it, but I'm not hearing it from our large power users that they want it right now. So that's why that was another reason we wanted to start with residential. It's the easiest to get the metering and billing figured out.
Right.
I think there's more demand there, but down the road we may want to expand.
Good. Okay. John.
How are you thinking about we publicize this, that's available?
Yeah, we're working on a website now. So I think we get the website the way we want it, get the language right where it's simple enough to understand, but it communicates the message. Then, we kind of build it out from there. I've been thinking about this quite a bit. My opinion kind of at this point is I think the best marketing tool for this will be internal training. If a customer calls and says, hey, I'm interested in time of use, and we say, well, yeah, it's out there, but we don't really know what it is, that it dies right there, to be honest. So I think training is a really big part. That's another one I'm trying to figure out the best way to go about that. But so again, standard stuff. We'll do a website. I'll defer to Kathy if we need to do a cable 10 spot or not. I mean, maybe something like that makes sense. I don't know if we go as far as like paid advertising. Maybe that's a little too much, but of course that's
Yeah.
we can adjust if needed.
Ms. Snyder, there
Yeah, Jerry.
could be directly benefit to a certain group of customer. For example, if they have a 2 electric vehicle, they will use
Right.
almost 50% energy
Right.
by that.
Right.
Then based on this time day rate, you can use a super saving rate.
Right.
Then there are a lot of energy you can use by that
That
hour.
midnight to 6 a.m. or whatever that.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
There could be potentially provide a saving to some customer.
Okay.
I think the EV owner probably can get that very quickly.
That's probably our original market for the beginning. Yeah. Okay.
Or there are some young professional or whoever can watch their usage
Right.
very carefully, like for app or for any other, right now the new meter system we are, if they truly can control the usage. But I do want to admit it's very hard. Like a day to day, I think it's hard to control your air conditioning cycle.
Right.
But the EV user, I think, is clearly to me
Okay.
you can benefit from.
Catherine.
And so AMI kind of fits in this with this.
Yeah.
So where are we on an app for AMI?
The last I think IT is saying they're a few months-ish out. I don't know if that's a accurate statement or not. But so the portal is up and running. You can get on our website now and get a little more detailed view. Jason, I think maybe you kind of were checking it out a little bit. So the portal is up. You can check it there, and I think an app is probably, it's in the works, maybe a few months out. I'm speaking for IT here, so maybe I shouldn't do that. But I think
So it
it's
might coincide with
Yeah.
starting a pilot program.
agreed. Yeah, I think it's an obvious fit. If you're really watching your usage, you want it on the app. Yeah. So
Anyone else? Do we have anybody signed up, Kevin?
Yes, we have 2. Kevin O'Mara.
Kevin, did you want to make a comment?
Hello. My name is Kevin O'Mara. I live at 307 Signal Ridge Road. And through the Solarize Frankfurt program, I've gotten 2 bids for systems on my house. Well, I have a meter on my house and a meter on my garage on the same property. And without the ability to use the garage as a source of electricity, I can't really get it up high enough to afford a system or to make it reasonable, let's put it that way. And so this would be beneficial to me. The program I like, and it's been very helpful so far. And if I understand the time usage thing, I also have an electric vehicle that would benefit from being able to charge overnight.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy McDonald.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you. I'm Andy McDonald, live on Owington Road, and I wanted to speak in support of the adjustments to the net metering tariff. In addition to Mr. O'Mara, I know at least one other person who would benefit from the change. Would save them very great expense from having to combine their electrical services. And would also, that customer is looking at the possibility of combining their services, which would result in them just having one meter. So you'd go down to just one monthly service charge. So with the combined meter, you'd be able to still have the 2 meters, 2 service charges, but would make it a lot simpler for the customer.
Yeah.
And I think we would find other people. Over the years, I regularly meet people who have a barn or a garage, and the barn or the garage has good solar access. The house is surrounded by trees, and but the barn or the garage has minimal usage. So I think it would be advantageous. With regards to time of use rates, I would also encourage you to approve that. I think that's also a good policy. I think with adequate marketing, I think you would find people interested in doing that, particularly EV users. And I think it's a relatively low-cost measure on your part that can help you reduce peak demand charges, which would benefit all of your customers. And with effectively marketed, I think you could find it to be a very good program. So I encourage that as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Don?
No,
If I could, I'd just like on behalf of the board, Andy, to thank you for all your help with the REAP grant application. I mean, you've done a lot of work on that and appreciate it.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Okay. All right. If any other board members don't have any more questions, just remind folks, we'll continue to accept oral and written comments. Call our number, use the website. I misspoke. I said Friday night, the 19th of August. The 19th of August is actually a Monday, which is the day before our August meeting, which is when we will vote on this. And like Travis said, I think it's going to take effect on September 1st. So that concludes the public hearing, and I'll turn it back over to the chairman.
Thank you, sir. Next item is item 3.1. Consider approval of workers' compensation renewal in the amount of $103,982. And there's Charlie Hamilton again, 87 cents.
87. I'll pay the use.
Yeah, you think one time you could get it down.
Yes, well, good evening. Staff recommends that the board approve the renewal of FPB's workers' compensation coverage with Kentucky Employers Mutual Insurance. If approved, the renewal premium of $103,982.87 will be effective July 1st, 2024. That's a significant decrease from last year. It's about $26,000. Some factors that played into that, I think across the board for workers' comp, it went down 3.8%. And then the rest for our drop was our EMR rating, experience modification rate. It went from, I think it's 0.87 to 0.73. So that's excellent. It's really good. You want to stay below that 1. So doing good.
I mean, I think that's quite a tribute to the work you do and the entire staff in
The
terms of
staff,
safety and everything.
yeah.
I mean, it's them
It's the employees.
doing
yes.
good, I mean, being safe, doing safe things out there in the field that makes a difference, so.
That is correct, yes. Yeah, so kudos to all of our employees that did excellent last year. Let's keep it up this year, moving forward.
Any questions on,
Charlie Hamilton's here if you have any questions. He's right back there.
I mean, is he offended if we don't bring him? I mean, does Charlie feel like he needs to
He says no.
just say something? No, he's fine with that.
I do have to ask a question, John. Is that a typo on the front? July 1st, 20. What's in our board packet? Actually, it's got a date on it from the 23 up to July 1st, 23. And we'll make sure that's.
Yeah, I believe that is a typo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
It should be effective
yeah.
24.
yeah,
Okay.
it'd be, 24 this
Okay.
year.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
Any other questions? Well, okay, if not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Insurance contracts approved. With that, is there anybody here for regular public comment?
Not to my knowledge, no, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that,
And move
Ms.
16
Snyder, if you would make a motion on item number 16?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to The board go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61A10-1C to discuss pending or proposed litigation regarding an appeal of an administrative matter and a contract matter, as well as 61A10-1F for discussions which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
Do we have a motion to go in closed session? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Do we have a second? Motion and second.
Yeah.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're going into closed session. And hence, we need what? Kathy, Michelle, Gary, you, closed session?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion second. All those in favor of coming out of closed session?
Aye.
Aye.
We're back in open session. Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Chairman, no actions necessary from the closed session meeting.
Okay, we're moving on to the next item. Item 4.1, financial statements for the month ending May 31st, 2024. Mr. Denton.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Starting on page 49 of your board packet, we have your financial statements for the month ending May 31st, 2024. So this is wrapping up the 11th month of our fiscal year. I'll start briefly, not a whole lot of change from April to May, but I'll go through real quickly here. So on page 49, looking at our statement of net position, line 65, total assets of just over $237 million. You'll notice our largest asset class is our property, plant, and equipment. It's 62% of total assets. In the last 12 months, from May 23 to 24, the plant board has invested $17.3 million into new property, plant, and equipment. And you net that against additional $7.4 million in depreciation, and you see that difference there of an increase in $9.8 million over the last 12 months. When you take your assets, then we have next our liabilities on line 135, just over $105 million. Your assets minus total liabilities will give you your total net position on 155 of just under $132 million. Bring your total liabilities and net position in agreement with total assets, just over $237 million. I'd like to briefly talk about the financial performance for these first 11 months. I would like to look at page 54 of the board packet. This is the statement of revenue, expense, and change in net position for the 11 months ending May 31st, 24. Same story that we've heard for several months and in our budget sessions. We are currently, if you look at our operating revenue, budget to actual, line 20, we're right on track with what we estimated. We're having a better than expected year with expenses. Wholesale power is down, and pension expense is down due to not filling fully staffing positions. So that helps budget to actual. If you look at actual to actual, we've talked about our closing operating margins. Revenue's up 3.75%. Expenses are up approximately 5%. So we are down $627,000 in net contribution year over year. So that's a 6% decrease. That just speaks to that closing margin that we've talked about in our budget meetings recently. So that's where we are through the 11 months of this year, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Denton? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to accept the financials?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Financials adopted. Second item is item 4.2, consider approval of the 2024-25 fiscal year budget and accept the 5-year plan. And David's provided everybody with one sheet in front of you which summarizes the changes and actions that we discussed in the budget meeting we had. Everybody needs to look at that and see if that captures everything we thought we were talking about. And I would propose 2 caveats just for consideration. One is on the clubhouse renovation, which we're going to have, Leanne's going to talk to us about later, to increase that line by $40,000 from the line that's here, based on the bids that she got that we're going to be able to discuss, but to add additional $40,000 to that line. And then that the personnel actions that we proceed for July 1st with the 3.5% COLA, with the on-call, and with the waiving the maximum for people to get the full COLA in their pay grade. And then in July, come back and have a further discussion on further adopting the Corn Ferry system and the other changes, because several board members have expressed they have some additional questions they'd like to ask. Leave it in the budget. Don't take it out of the budget, leave it in there, and then come back in July and have that final discussion on it. But with that, that would be the actions I'd recommend, open it up for whatever anybody wants to do on those or anything else.
Mr. Chairman, on the clubhouse, that 75 was an increase
From what we had
from what we
within
had
the original
originally.
budget.
Okay, and the extra 41 encapsulate the entire
Is on
amount.
top of it, yeah.
Okay,
And that would
good.
take into account the full bid that,
And the
I don't want to
contingency.
take all Leanne's thunder,
Right.
but we have a bidder and we need to decide if we want to award that. But before we get to that, if we don't want to have to circle back and do this again,
Right.
then
Right. Sure.
we can,
Sure.
so.
And based on what you had
emailed about the 1,100 homes, that we don't have that budgeted.
No,
for
that's
the-
not because, oh, and you know, the governor has, and I sent you all a copy of
Just
the press
announced,
release.
yeah.
He's announced that they're, and Adam, you can correct me, they're at the next phase of the process, but the governor, the administration, has still not issued the final BEAD guidelines to apply for. And as we've discussed before, what will happen there, as I understand it, is once the governor issues, and Adam, if you want to come up here, once the governor issues the final guidelines, then we'll have to have a discussion with the county and see how they want to proceed. We won't be tied to proceed with or without them, but there will be some match required. And then we'll have to have that discussion. Does the county want to partner? And if so, are they willing to put up match? If the county wants to partner and no match, or the county doesn't want to partner, then do we want to match? Or what action do we want to take? But we don't even know what the rules are going to be. Is that fair, Adam?
Yes, and also we have the 30-day shot clock.
Right.
So we have to submit whether we intend to apply.
Right.
So.
But nothing has happened yet. The shot clock's not turned on,
No,
right?
I'm still, everything I'm seeing is it'll be, early fall. That's what's on the website as far as some of the documents I've read.
We'd have to do a budget amendment if we
We'd have to go
At that
borrow.
time,
Decided.
We have to go, yeah.
We'd have to borrow. I mean, we're looking at, with a 25% match, we're probably looking at what, 4 to 5?
Yeah, I mean, the word, Mike kind of redone the numbers before he left on vacation, and I think we were north of 20 million to finish.
Well,
So, yeah, you're about 5
I wouldn't
million.
want to have the discussion of what we might put up now, because I think the county needs to be the ones that put up. So it's premature for us to talk about doing something
Right.
before we
Yeah.
this
And
commitment.
one, we don't know what the rules are, we don't know what the
Yeah.
final costs are based on those rules, and we don't know what their intent is.
Yep.
And we've kept them, I mean, I think they're aware of what's going on also, I mean, but, we're to go, the money's covered in this budget for the 884, we're
Yes.
good there.
And that totaled what,
14.5 million?
Yeah, but that was like 6.5 of that was
Six-
ours.
Yeah, 6.5 each, I'm sorry.
So our commitment was 6.5.
Yes, sir.
So I just want the public to understand
Which is
that.
above the
we let
5,
go far.
which is above the 5 million that we
Yeah.
originally said we were going to put
Yeah.
in, so.
So, but the governor did have that announcement, so I guess they've passed the next hurdle on the federal, but they're still not clear to take, or to start taking applications, so.
Okay, thank you.
So that's a long answer for saying, no, there's no money in here for the 11.
Okay.
Any other changes, corrections, additions, deletions?
Mr. Chairman, if it's in order, I would like to make a motion to approve the budget as amended as described here today on this sheet, and the discussions we had back on June 5th, and also adopt the 5-year plan.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Budget's adopted. David, you and your whole team, Katrina and everybody that
Good
worked in
job.
all the departments, the information you got us, the timeline, I mean, everything, you all did a heck of a job. You really did.
Thank you all very much.
Because there's a lot of work goes into this.
Thank you. Yes, the whole team behind you there is the ones that make it all happen. So
Yeah.
So
It's a
we'll
good
start
book.
on the next budget tomorrow.
we could just
For next
adopt
year.
this for 26 too.
Okay. Thank you, David.
Next item is department reports. Mr. General Manager, you want to be the MC?
Yes.
The first one is public information.
And we skipped over, nobody wants to confess anything under the related. Okay, so.
Unless you do.
Are
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Good evening. I'm gonna keep it short because we've run long.
We just got back.
I know. I just want to say we set up at the Expo last weekend, and it was great. We had a lot of people stop by, a lot of questions about Next Band. So I was telling the guys this morning, we had a lot of people from Bald Knob asking about Next Band. So we said, stay tuned. So always a good time to be out among the community, to be able to answer any other questions they have about the services we provide. This week will be Thursday night. We're going to be up at Juniper Hill Park for the longest day of play. We'll have a presence there that night as well. Other than that, we're just same old stuff going on. Trying to stay cool.
Yeah, okay.
Any questions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, next is a NOG service.
For the knock in May, it looks like the knock did 3,266 phone calls. So far, year to date, that's 6,447. I'm sorry, we did 6,447 locates for the year, and 615 locates in May, and entered 829 trouble calls. So just nothing, just normal business, nothing exciting.
You still fully staffed?
We are fully staffed. We had an opening in the knock, and a new employee to fill that position just started last week, so we're happy to have them on board and good to go for a while, I hope.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is customer service.
Good evening. You can find customer service reports page 127 to 131. You'll notice on page 127 we did have an increase in our total customer contacts. We are up about 1,200 contacts from last month, and it was like 500 or 600 from this time last year. So this is kind of our peak time with everyone moving, people filling pools, those kind of things. Our wait times did go up a little bit because, of course, with an increase in customers, you will see that increase. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And I sold a next band?
You did.
So,
Good job. And they've already got her like the next day they
Yes,
called her, and we
yeah.
had her connected the day after
Yes,
that.
indeed.
So good job.
Next one is telecommunication.
Good afternoon, evening. The report starts on page 133 of your board packet with customer penetration. Looks like we're up another 1.5%. We broke the 20% mark as far as customer broadband customers to next band customers, so that's a good. We're going the right direction there. We had 4 outages for the month. A lot of them power related. We did have one optical receiver that went out on Versailles Road area. Nothing major. Trouble call seems really high for this time last year, but I did a 7-year average and it's within 20. So I don't know. I guess maybe last year was really good. So
What kind of calls are you getting?
it's anything. I mean, it could be inside wiring. This time of year, typically we get a lot more calls when the heat, during the heat because of the equipment in the field.
Right.
But we did an upgrade a couple years back, and that's kind of remedied that. But as that equipment ages, I'd see those calls start to come back in. So. Next band, I think we activated the pond today. It's Schweitzer, Justice Lane area, so it's far out, but we got it turned up today. We got 5 more areas we're going to try to get turned on before the end of the month, and so that's good. On the county project, we got 110 of the 585 easements, so we're making strides, but so that's all I have. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Next is electric department, the superintendent Scott Hudson.
Good evening. As you turn to page 137, you'll see our SAIDI numbers for the month of May is 59.343. Page 138 shows your pie chart with the percentages of the outages. Page 139 breaks those percentages down to actual counts with a total of 68 outages. And then page 140 is the top 10 biggest outages areas we have. Be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
And the tree trimming, I notice, is in full force.
Oh yes.
The right tree, I mean,
we are kind of fighting not a lot, but there's several areas we have hot spots, so we're having to deal with hot spot as well as regular tree trimming. So they've got plenty to do right now with the trees growing. So.
SEPA.
Good evening again. The SEPA report in your board package begins on page 141. Our SEPA bill for the month of April was, I'm getting there, sorry, $82,203. Net payment, $112,560 for a profit to the plan board of $30,357, which brings us through April of 2024 a net benefit of $328,648 for SEPA. Any questions there? I think we're kind of right on track like we usually are this time of year. And for AMI, we're at 19,033 electric installs, 12,543 water. So.
John, I had a lady to come up to me Saturday and said that she is crazy about AMI, that she goes back to her computer and checks it every day.
All right.
You know, while I hear Travis, I do have a question. Where would a customer go if they want to go online to check if they're, you know, AMI and access that? Would that be on their homepage where their bill and stuff is, or their My FPB page?
Through their My FPB portal.
Okay.
It's getting built up and expanded based on AMI data, so the format is still kind of the same as it would have been pre-AMI, but there's just a little more granularity there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Next is QIMEA. I really don't have a lot of report except QIMEA made a decision to build their natural gas plant. Except if you have any question. Next is safety. Tyler.
And just for the record, so everybody knows who's listening, we basically have advised KYME we are not part of that natural gas rice project.
We were not.
Right.
Actually, I voted against it.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
So on pages I think it's 145, 146, we had one OSHA recordable for the month of May, a little better than the previous month. Employee was strapping down a piece of equipment on a trailer, hurt their wrist. Doctor placed them on restricted duty, so that makes it OSHA recordable. For vehicle accidents, we had two, one for water, one for electric. One of the vehicles was pulling out of a parking spot, didn't realize how close they were to another vehicle, struck the front end of the vehicle. Similar situation with the water.
Nobody hurt?
Nobody was hurt. No, the two vehicles hit were both parked, and we struck them. So that's all I got. If you don't have any more questions.
And for the board's, you know, peace of mind, I did not participate in any training this past month, so, which explains why our workers' comp premium went down. So.
Yeah, that's correct. Good.
water distribution, Brian.
Good afternoon. The water distribution monthly report is on pages 147 through 149. We installed 13 new services. We had one main break and 0 outages, so we had a good month on outages. Besides the normal board report, we're about 55% complete on our annual flushing. We've also just about completed a project on Valley Vista Drive, a new main replacement project there, so we're getting close to getting that fixed and completed. Demand is up on the distribution system. Yesterday we had 2 tanks that we're keeping an eye on, and Brandon's like, well, Georgetown was pulling hard yesterday. So, and then where we feed out to the horse farms, they were pulling hard yesterday evening too. So we really have to monitor our tank levels.
In Georgetown, we were able to totally meet their needs when they needed it.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we keep trucking on the AMI, getting the installs done, and like you said, I mean, customers they're going to enjoy the functionality of it once it's all implemented. So,
and just for the record, and you all probably are aware, 2 weeks ago, whatever, in the evening, Farmdale had an outage, a major outage, or actually the west part of town.
Well, it's the west part of town.
Right.
A contractor.
Yes.
A contractor.
The original thing
hit,
was that we had hit something, but that's
a contractor putting in a fiber line was directional drilling on King's Daughters Drive.
And it was not our fiber line either.
No, they hit our water main, and so but that feed fed over to Farmdale Water. So when we we had to turn the feed off. There was too much water because they hit it dead square, put a good size hole in it.
And they'd been told where we were and where they shouldn't be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, they dove deep.
They don't
Yeah. No, they were supposed to come across at 30 inches, and they came across at almost 5 foot.
So do we charge them?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We do what we call an X number, and we, all the time, the material, and then we even look at how much water
The
was
value of
lost.
the water too, yeah.
Yeah. What did we figure, about 700,000? Yeah, about 700,000 gallons of water was lost. Yeah, so. That kind of stuff shouldn't happen. They had it spotted. It's just the guy on the machine, when he came across, I don't know if he hit a rock or what, but he went straight down and hit the side of the pipe, so.
And I will say this, someone forwarded me the thing. Of course, I did the appropriate thing. I texted Sharmista, and Sharmista came back and said, I'm on site, it's okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And what,
Well,
just for math purposes, is it $3 per 1,000 gallons? Am I way off on that?
Well, it's different. It's priced differently when somebody
It's not
hit.
the
You know,
retail- it's not the
it's at a
retail.
gratis. It's at
Yeah.
what was the rate, Danny? Was it 90? Well, that's what we make it at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not.
It's not a significant amount of money when it comes to the water loss. Yeah.
But y'all have a lot of personnel out there.
We did have a lot of personnel out there. The biggest issue with that was initially they thought the hospital was going to be shut down.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. So Kentucky Emergency Management, they were on the phone, they called and said, hey, and we were never told anybody the hospital was going to get shut down. So there's a little miscommunication somewhere there, but they were so happy to know the hospital was not,
Right.
is backfed. So when we had done work, I don't know, 10 years ago to make sure that if something happened to that line, that we had a way to backfeed the hospital. So, yeah.
Y'all did a great job that night. I mean,
Yeah.
Thank you. The guys do.
Yeah.
When it's time to get something done, they do a really good
Yeah.
job. Yeah, absolutely. So, any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Next is Water Treatment Plant Superintendent Brendan.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of May, the water treatment plant treated 241,679,000 gallons of water for an average of 7.8 million gallons per day. Lock 4 averaged 5,811 cubic feet per second for an average of 3.75 billion gallons per day. And then there were 5.7 inches of rainfall recorded in the month of May.
questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Is that, we're done with the reports? Next, item 7.1, consider a contract amendment with Bluegrass Community Action for income qualifying energy audits and weatherization improvements beginning July 1st. And we had a lot of discussion on this during the budget meeting. And so, Travis, you just want to kind of give a quick summary of where we're at on this?
Yep, nothing really new to add from the budget meeting. So the terms of the contract are generally the same. Bluegrass Community Action will do the customer intake, income validation, make sure they meet the needs of a low-income customer. They're authorized up to $2,500 in improvements per home. And this year, the budget amount we're asking is $50,000 for this year, which
I know in the past, Steve, you've asked for some follow-up feedback reports on, can we determine if what we're doing is if it's helping?
Sure. Yeah. We can. It's been a little while since we've done one of those, so
Yeah.
we can kind of brush all that off, and if you want to have that for the July meeting or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, the
we can do
goal
it.
is, are we helping people lower their bills? I mean, is it?
Yeah, sure.
Are the things because one of the things we always talked about before was they would make recommendations, were people doing it? So the
Exactly.
question is, are people doing it and is it helping?
Yeah. The good thing about this one versus what we did before is we know from the invoicing the improvements are happening. It's inherent to the contract, where before we would just go in and do an audit and say, okay, here's what you need to do.
And then walk,
Whether or not that ever happened, it was kind of a mixed bag. So this one we know insulation's going in, weather stripping's going in. So it's doing something. And we can try and put a little tighter bounds on that as, to what extent is it helping. But I know it's popular with Community Action Partnership. They really like it. And I think it's doing a lot of good for their
Steve, does that take care of what you want? Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract's approved. Thanks,
Thank
Travis.
you.
Next, item 7.2, consider award bid invitation 1805, price contract for bulk fuel delivery, Robinson Oil, Inc., Leanne. This one was close.
It is tight, yeah.
Yeah.
The plant board purchases bulk fuel for the fleet, the power-operated equipment, and the standby generators that we have at our facilities. Fuel pricing is based on the terminal price, and it's also sometimes called rack price, applicable taxes, and the vendor's markup or add-on per gallon. The terminal price is what the vendor pays per gallon when they go to the fuel terminal to fill up their hauler tank. This pricing varies day to day based on the fuel market. We pay Kentucky road tax, but are exempt from the federal motor excise tax. Vendors bid with the understanding that they are locking in their add-on per gallon and not, add-on per gallon for the duration of the contract and not for a guaranteed quantity of fuel. The estimated gallons of fuel on the bid were based on what was purchased last fiscal year, and the contract will be effective July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2026. And the contract can be renewed for 12-month periods up to 3 times. And the bid invitation was sent to 4 vendors, and 2 responses were received. And after evaluating both bids, staff recommends awarding to Robinson Oil, as they're the low bidder. Their add-on is 3 cents per gallon on regular unleaded and diesel, and 9 cents per gallon for off-road diesel. And these markups are 1 cent less per gallon than the previous year.
Any questions of Leanne? And it was very close, which is good. I mean, we got a good bid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item. And now we're getting to the good
It's your
stuff.
favorite day of the whole year, isn't it, John?
That's right. Item 7.3, consider award of bid invitation 1801, annual price contract for water treatment chemicals, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Brandon?
Bid 1801 was, you all approved that last month. It was minus the carbon. So the carbon came in at roughly 97 cents, which is down about 8%.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes to the now carbon.
And that's the only change, right?
That's the only change.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't have the price for
Right.
the testing at that time. Sorry.
So do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved. Next one, item 7.4, consider awarded bid invitation 1802, annual price contract for water treatment chemicals, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Brandon?
This is our bulk sodium chloride. We don't do a reverse auction for the salt. They won't even answer to a reverse bid. So we had one sealed bid from Morton Salt for $306.22 a ton, which is about 0.5% increase. It's about like $37 a load, so it's very small. So.
Yeah.
Any questions of Brandon?
Quick question.
Sure.
So on this one and the last one, I'm seeing prices are dropping. Is that indicative of the larger market, do you think? Or you just...
I don't know. A lot of them don't like to. They don't like to talk. If I've got a couple of them that I talk to a couple times a year, and they don't like to really divulge anything.
Yeah.
So you never
Could
really
part
know
of-
until the bid comes
Could
out.
part of
so
that being coming back down from the highs of,
Probably,
of,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
what you were comparing it to
their
last year.
their raw materials are going down. So I mean, it's good they're going down. So
Yeah.
that's one plus. So I mean, our budget has doubled over the last 4 years or something like that, 3 or 4.
Yeah, jumped from
So
500,000 a year to 200
Yeah.
a year.
Where are we at? Going right now, David, compared to where we were 4 years ago, you said it's from 500,000 to 2 million?
No,
1 million.
1 million.
1 million.
Yeah.
So where do you, are you budgeting to hold around the 1 million and not retreat
Yes.
below that, but just
Yes.
not go up anymore?
Right. Just
Yeah.
hold.
I think we're gonna end up like 900 and change or something this year, I think, total, I
It
think,
was-
so.
Well, this year's 983.1,
Yeah.
and we were right at month 11. We were like pretty dead on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll see how this month holds out. So
Any questions of Brandon? No, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contracts awarded. Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay, item 7.5, consider renewal of pole inspection and treatment contract with Osmos Utility Services, bid number 1802. Travis?
Good evening again. Yeah, so it's the month for contract renewals. This one up the bat will be the Osmos contract. So Osmos began this fiscal year with our wood pole inspection and treatment process. At the end of this fiscal year, there will be about 2,000 poles into 10,000 poles total. So this renewal will cover all the inspection and treatment services. We're hoping to get to about 4,000 of those 10,000 this year. So at that pace, next fiscal year, we'd be done with our entire system. So that's the plan we're kind of working through. One thing I did not have in the agenda item, I should point out, the contract terms state that the escalation will be according to the CPI for services, which is 5.2% this year. So that's, again, that was in the original contract terms. That's what we're expecting for this upcoming year. I wouldn't change that budget number. There's a little contingency built in to that 210,000, so I expect we'll be fine there. But yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Travis? I feel like we just talked about a lot of these things.
Yeah,
first part of the month when
we
did
did.
the budget,
We
so
did. That's because we
it's like,
did.
have we
That's
voted on this?
And they're on target for the number for last year.
Yeah, they're keeping up the pace, not really having any issues. To date, I think we found about 150 poles so far that have failed inspection. So, yeah, it's a pretty significant chunk. I mean, we thought it potentially could have been worse. So it's a lot, but it's manageable. I say kind of for better for worse. We found them, So now that once you know, you got to fix it. Right?
And we originally adopted this in the middle of the year last year, right? That's why we only did 2,000.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, got a little late start, so we
That's
did.
fine.
Yeah. 20, 40, 40 to get the whole thing done. Yep.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract's awarded. Thanks,
Thank you.
Travis. Item 7.6, consider approving a professional service agreement with Palmer Engineering for a not-to-exceed amount of $48,700 for engineering services related to the Broadway Bridge water line relocation project. Ms. Dutta.
Good evening. This is kind of similar, kind of feels like a repeat from our last meeting, but this is the agreement with Palmer Engineering to provide design and as-needed construction services for us to relocate the 8-inch line off of Broadway Bridge to the US 127 Clinton Street Bridge. The cost breakdown is for design services, it'll be $27,300. And then the construction service, which are on an as-needed, not-to-exceed basis, is $21,400. And that includes inspection services, issuing any change orders, and responding to requests for information. Total project cost is estimated about $481,000. The estimated cost for us to upgrade from an 8-inch line to a 12-inch line will be roughly $68,000. So that would be our cost over the total project. And then KYTC will reimburse the rest of the cost. We recommend the board approve the agreement with Palmer Engineering, but this is also going to be contingent upon an agreement with KYTC for reimbursement. The Palmers let us know that they're working on that agreement now. So once that's finalized and we ensure that they are indeed going to reimburse us for everything except for the betterment costs. So I'd like the motion, if you don't mind it, to be contingent upon that KYTC agreement.
And based on that, Hans, if we approve that, then once Transportation and Palmer have reached their agreement, it's clear to go. It doesn't have to come back before the board. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would make the motion that we consider approving the professional service agreement with Palmer Engineering with the contingency noted by Sharmiston in her presentation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Contract's approved.
Thanks.
Thank you. Item 7.7, consider award of bid invitation 1803 annual price contract for ductile iron pipe fittings, tapping sleeves, hydrants, and valves. Jennifer.
This is our annual bid for most of the inventory that we keep for the water department. So it's an annual price contract. They're not bidding on a specific amount. We just give them estimates. And there is a small increase, but the last couple years were 15 to 20% on some of the increases. So it is coming back down some on our increases for the year. And we did have to go to 6-month contracts for a few years because no one wanted to hold the price, but we are back to annual on that.
And I know we've used Ferguson before. Hayes, Core, and Main, Consolidated, we've all used
We've
them.
used all of
Yeah.
those, yeah, those are, even our non-inventory items, I mean, those vendors are supply most of our water, items.
Are there any, is this a lead time issue? Is this a delivery issue with
The
any
lead
of
times
these?
are getting a lot better.
Better?
I think the
Yeah.
ductile iron pipe and fittings might still be a little longer, but not anywhere near what they were.
Okay.
Any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
So move.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contracts awarded. Item 7.8, consider award of bid invitation 1804 wood poles to T.R. Miller Mill. Is that right? T.R.
Yeah.
Miller Mill?
T.R. Miller
Company
Mill.
in the amount of $49,510.
So this is a trickle down from what Travis just talked about on the poles that they're finding. Normally, our wood pole orders are a lot smaller and we just get quotes, but we did need to do a lot larger order to get ahead of, for some of the ones, they're using a lot of our inventory for those replacements. So it did go over the bid amount for that large order. So this would just be, our first big order for those poles. And this will keep us in stock because we had a large inventory. It's just going a lot faster than it was.
Any questions of Jennifer on this?
I'm just floored by the significant difference in price on this one. I mean,
Yeah, it's usually the treatment.
Okay.
Some of the treatments are a lot more expensive, and some vendors, I don't know if that's the only treatment that they offer or if that's just what they decided to bid. But the CCA is.
And we're satisfied that
cheaper.
treatment is good enough
Yeah,
to.
Scott and Travis both have. There's approved treatments. Some we don't accept.
Okay.
There's a list of approved ones that are in the bid specs.
Okay.
I mean, do some have longer lifetime of the pole because of the treatment?
I don't think the lifetime. Some of them are harder and harder to climb without special gear, things like that. Don't know about the lifetime of the pole. I know we do exclude some because the climbing gear our guys have, we would have to get additional gear, but.
Yeah, no, you know, it's CCA.
You want to go to the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah. So traditionally, CCA poles are very hard physically, meaning getting spikes into them and trying to climb. CCA ET is a newer treatment type that makes that CCA pole a little easier to climb. So in terms of durability and longevity of the pole, it's similar to the other treatments that are out there. That's kind of the one catch with CCA. We have some of them in stock, so we're familiar with them. We feel like it's manageable, the issue, certainly for that price difference that you mentioned.
It's the difference. What's the DCOI?
I couldn't recall off the top of my head exactly what that is. It's some abbreviation for the complex chemical name they use to treat. To be honest with you, I don't know if we have any DCOI poles out there.
I don't think we've ever ordered any.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, would hope because of such increase in price that it meant they lasted longer.
Yeah, I think it has more to do with CCA being a little less popular because it just makes the pole really difficult to climb.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference.
Any other questions for Travis or Jennifer? Okay, if not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Contracts awarded. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank
Travis. Next one is conduct election of officers for the Frankfurt Plain Board Municipal Projects Corporation. Hans, turn it over to you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we engage in a recess of the Frankfurt Plant Board.
Oh, that's right, yes.
In order to convene the Frankfurt Plant Board Municipal Project, meeting of the Frankfurt Plant Board Municipal Projects Corporation. Did I get it right, Hans?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We've now recessed and we're convening the Frankfurt Municipal Projects Corporation.
Yes, and as chair of that august body, I
You'll take over at this point, yes.
I will let everybody know that we directors, we have a separate corporation that has been around for a while. The terms of our officers, the last time we have to elect the officers every 3 years, the terms of those officers just expired. So since we're kind of in limbo, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Hans so he can conduct the election of officers of the corporation.
Sir, thanks very much. I'll note first that all of the directors of the plant board are also directors of the Municipal Projects Corporation, and all are present and it's on. Yes, ma'am. It's on. And all are present and accounted for. We've got the same people that showed up here, still here. So we could go one of two ways. We can open the floor to nominations for the individual offices, or someone can choose to nominate a slate, and then we can vote on that one slate of candidates. We have, of course, a president, a vice president, and a secretary. And unlike our plant board, this can be, you can repeat your, so if the same folks want to serve, you're welcome to do so, or if we would like to have a new slate, that's up to the board as well. So,
Did anybody contact you, Hans, indicating an interest in?
No, sir. No, sir.
I'm going to keep the same up front. Yeah, you want to make a motion?
Okay, I make a motion. If no one has indicated you an interest in running for any office, I would make a motion. Can I make one motion for the entire slate?
Yes, sir.
I would make a motion that the current officers be reelected for new terms.
Let's one thing on my little script here. Can we have a motion to open the floor for nominations for?
I'll make a motion to open the floor for nominations.
Now I can make my motion?
Yes, sir. There you go.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I would move that the current officers be reelected to new terms.
Yes, sir. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Second. All in favor of the current officers repeating their terms, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries, and congratulations, everyone. I think that'll take care of us for another 3 years. There.
And just so the public knows, there is no additional pay
Right.
associated with that high office. That being the case, we've done our business, we've done our due diligence in terms of electing our officers. I will now accept a motion to adjourn the municipal project, this meeting of the Municipal Projects Corporation.
Second.
So moved. Motion by Steve, second by Catherine. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now adjourned, and you can fire the FPB board meeting back
Okay,
up.
I need a motion to reconvene the regular meeting of the Frankfurt Plant Board.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're back in session on the regular agenda. Next would be item 7.10. This would be consider approving revisions to FPB's 401A defined contribution plan, which, as you know, is the plan for our Tier 3 employees who are no longer in a defined benefit plan. And during our budget meeting, we included funding in the budget to make changes, and we asked Katrina and Nichelle to come back to us, which they are today, with basically what they're recommending. And at this point, the board, if you like what they're saying, if you want to make changes, if you want to think about whatever you want to do, Nichelle, you want to kind of go over what you're all recommending, and then we can take it from there.
Good evening, Board Chair and members of the Board. Currently, Frankfurt Plant Board provides a 401A defined contribution plan for employees that participate in Tier 3 cash balance pension plan administered by Kentucky Public Pension Authority. FPB current 401A plan states that Tier 3 employees who contribute to a 401K or 457 Kentucky Deferred Comp Plan are eligible for a 50% match from FPB up to a maximum contribution of the employee's 4% contribution. Staff proposes 2 changes to the existing 401A plan for Tier 3 employees in order to attract and retain quality employees and to encourage Tier 3 employees to contribute to his or her own retirement plan. First, staff proposes a change to the vesting schedule. Currently, employees are 100% vested on day one of participating in the plan. In order to entice employees to stay at FPB, staff recommends a 5-year vesting schedule. So you can see, please refer to the vesting schedule that's listed in the agenda item. Participants enrolled as of the effective date of this change will remain 100% vested in FPB match regardless of their tenure at FPB. New employees hired after the effective date of the change will fall under the new vesting schedule. Second, staff recommends a change to the FPB contribution. Staff recommends a contribution of 2% of the employee's salary regardless of the employee participation. Tier 3 benefit of the KPPA plans are not as rich as Tier 1 and Tier 2 benefits, so this would help Tier 3 employees toward their retirement goals. In addition, staff recommends another potential 2% match if the employee defers money themselves. This match would be a dollar-for-dollar match up to a maximum of 2% and would encourage employees to start saving for their personal retirement goals. The additional cost to FPB for this proposed employer contribution would be approximately $92,000. The cost of the existing match is approximately $70,000, so staff would include a total of $162,000 in the fiscal 25 FPB budget for these proposed changes. Staff asked the board to approve the new proposed 401A deferred contribution plan for Tier 3 employees. Does the board have any questions?
To make sure I understand. So what we're saying is, I'm taking for an employee making $40,000 a year, they get 2% without any match, so that'd be $800.
Yeah.
Then if they would contribute $800, they would get another $800 from FPB. So for the employees, if they would put up $1,800, they could get a total of $1,600 from the plant board, which would put $2,400 in their account for the year, in their 401A. Is that basically?
Yes.
Yes. And based on your vesting schedule, if you left after 1 year, that you'd get 320 of that 1,600, and then for the whole thing. So yeah. So yeah.
Catherine?
So I have a question on the vesting, and I just might not be, up to date or knowledgeable about a typical vesting, because we talked about the 5-year. Do some companies do, like, is it 0 until 5 years?
Yeah.
It's pretty rare. I think usually there's some sort of a graduated vesting schedule.
Well, I kind of agree with what Catherine was talking about. I mean, one of our goals here is to incentivize people to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And what greater incentive is to know that the company has put 2, 4, whatever % towards your match, and if you stay 5 years, you get it. As opposed to staying 1 year and getting 20%. I just don't see the real incentive for that if you're trying to retain people.
If you were going, I'm just throwing this out. If you were going to go with a graduated vesting, could you? I mean, I assume it's our discretion. So, could you have like year 1 and 2 0? If you leave, you don't get any of it except your money, and then start the graduated, say like at year 3, 4, and 5. So if you at least make it to year 3, maybe you can get 20 or 30. That you can get it, but you at least got to get to year 3 before you can get any of the FPB contribution. I'm just throwing out as an option, because I think what Steve and Catherine are saying, the goal is to say we want you to stay,
right? And
the incentive is the money's there if you stay. I'm just throwing out a.
Yeah, I think from my point of view, the 20%, 40, that's built in to kind of that. But I'm kind of concerned if we did nix that, maybe we would have, like, you've done a lot of work on trying to hire new employees, what we're competing against, and we may have trouble with hirees if they're like, oh, you have to be 0 for 2 years, you should So I like this system. My only question was, and sorry, there's a lot of numbers here, so I might be a little lost. Is there a cap to how much they could invest in their own retirement that we would match?
We'll match up to 50%. Oh.
No,
20%.
two,
Dollar.
yeah, dollar
So
per
the
dollar.
maximum FPB would ever put in is 4%.
Yeah.
Gotcha. There,
They can
that
keep
was
it
the
on
Our
that,
max
question.
right?
is our max is 4%. We automatically put 2% in, and then if they contribute 2 more percent, then it's capped at 4.
Sorry,
And then they can put in as much as they want to, of course, but.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I was missing. Sorry, too many numbers all over this
And
page.
the other thing about the other reason I like the vesting schedule that's proposed is right now, it's 100% vested from day one.
Right.
Which I agree, I don't like. But I think going from 100% vested from day one to no vesting until 5 years, I think it's too big of a leap. I just
Well,
think it's.
you're not, no one individual would be quote unquote thrown in cold water with that.
Oh, I
Because the
understand.
new
I
person
understand
come in
that.
on
I understand
the
that.
new,
But
I
understand that. But I still think that if we are trying to attract these folks, and this isn't tier 3 has become a thing where it's more about money, it's more about doing stuff on your own, it's more about getting your own retirement up. We've turned it into a game, and I think it. Do we know what KU or any of the other utilities we have? Do we know what they do in terms of their vesting schedules?
No, I currently don't know.
Okay. I like the graduated vesting myself.
Yeah, I like it too, and I think ultimately the goal is to teach people good practices
That's
for
it.
planning for retirement. And if they suddenly they don't feel like there's any match for the first 2 years, they may not think to build that habit, and they may just.
But there is a
think
match.
of it.
Remember, we talked about the match, they just wouldn't get it until
Right.
after the 5th year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the incentive for them to contribute toward their own deferred comp is there, in either way. The point is, to keep them there 5 years, they wouldn't get the accumulated amount of FPB until they stay to the 5th year.
I see what you're saying. Okay, that's the vested term. Sorry. Yes, it's I'm not used to corporate. I think this is simple. I think it's straightforward.
And I think one of the reasons, you all know, we talked about it, one of the reasons for this is, we know KU has a 401k type system. Now, some of the co-ops actually still have defined benefits, which is not what the Kentucky Pension Authority is offering. And, the value of 401k is based on 2 things: the match that the employer's putting in an employee, and basically, your salary increasing every year, which increases the contribution. Tier 3 is not a bad system, but it's not as rich it's not as strong as what some other, because the company match is bigger. What we put in for Tier 3 is what the statute, what the pension authority prescribes. It's likely that KU, other utilities are putting in a bigger employer match than we are. I mean, this is basically the theory of we're putting Tier 3 together with our 401A, and in theory, moving that total package forward to a little better retirement package, for the employee. But Tier 3 is predicated on employees working longer. I mean, the years of Tier 1, 27 and out with full benefits is no longer on that is not what Tier 3 does. The only way that math works is you got to work well past 30 years, is the reality of Tier 3. Is that correct, David, you think? Yep.
Well, we talked about this before, and I knew you were going to come back with language. Honestly, again, this is dated, but I'm used to, being at nonprofits, and it was a 5-year, or you get nothing.
And we don't have to vote on this tonight. I mean, we've put the money that Michelle described is in the budget. Correct, David? So if everybody has other questions, they have other thoughts, they want to think about this, we can bring it back in July. I mean, it doesn't change. In the budget we passed, we've included this funding. So the matter is just now, what type of plan do we want to offer and put forward? But we don't have to act tonight. It doesn't change the fact the money's sitting there in the budget. Whenever we put it in, it would start at that point.
And I mean, I just say this at the end. They're going to get the money if they stay 5 years, the same amount of money. In fact, it'll be more But if you start out in the first year, somebody may come and say, you know, I don't feel like working here anymore. And they know they got 20% of our money that they're going to take with them. And you've lost what you were trying to keep, which is an employee. And you also lost money too. That they didn't earn. You know, it was a benefit that we gave them that they didn't earn.
Well, I think we have 100% now, and we're going to something different. This seems like a good middle ground versus, 0% to 5 years or 0% to 3, and then they graduated. But I'd be happy to spend some time thinking about it more.
we got two options. We can vote on it, or we can simply pass over it and bring it back next month, whatever y'all want to do.
Unless everybody's ready to vote.
So you were pass over?
I'm happy to pass over, but if people want to vote on it, we can do that as well.
So, and maybe, I think you asked the question and you answered it, and I've already forgotten the answer, but as far as what everybody else is doing, comparable, do we have that information?
Was it Paducah is doing, that's the only one that I can think of that actually provided a match. We did do a survey, and most utilities or public was 0, and Paducah, I believe was like 6%.
As far as the vesting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure for the vesting.
One of the things we could do if we want to pass over it between now and July, we could contact, is it SHRM?
Yes.
And see if they've got any information. That's like the Society of all the personnel people, both public and private, and just see. And they might have some insight just to tell us kind of what they think's going on.
Yep, I can survey different.
That information, as well as if there's any, data as far as, does it hinder hiring, based on the investment schedule? Does it improve retention?
Okay.
Okay.
So do we need a motion to pass over, Hans, or can we just?
No, you can just table it. You don't need to make a motion.
Okay. Seeing no motion to adopt, then we just pass over this and bring it back. And Michelle and Katrina, you kind of get an idea what the board members want some more information on, and you all did great work on this. And just kind of fill in some of those areas, and then we'll come back in July.
Okay, thank you.
Can I?
Thank you,
John. Can I throw this? Has kind of raised something in my head a little bit for a second. Is there any point? I don't think since I've been on the board, I don't know if I've seen it. Is there any point that we survey our employees to get their thoughts on this? Because sometimes it's a little hard for me to put myself in your guys' heads. So, is there a system that we ever just sort of ask them about various things that we can get feedback directly from our staff rather than us?
Yeah, I can most definitely survey the employees.
We got 75 tier 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys think it's.
When someone leaves, don't we have a survey, a debriefing?
Yes, an exit interview, yes.
But I think maybe what Jason, I don't want to, maybe saying is there a way between now and July, and we talked about this just very briefly that one day, is to send something out or contact those 75 and say, we're considering this. What makes sense to you, and does this make a difference?
Yeah.
Does this make staying here more attractive?
Even though it's not going to apply to them, the vestment.
The vesting's not going to apply to them, but the other part will, because that will
Right,
go up.
of course, but, I mean,
I don't want to add more work to
Yeah.
your plate. You got a million things going on. But I would be really curious what a tier 3 person seeing this would go. If I had to wait 5 years, that would make me less hesitant to take this job. Or, if I had to wait a year, that's fine. I'd be curious.
Or just as much saying if you're increasing this, because the goal is by putting the extra money in, it makes, we want the people to stay.
Yeah.
And to say just putting that in, make you want to stay here more with it. Are you going to say, no, if you're going to give me the money, I just want the cash?
I guess I would equate this to a tier 1 employee who was at 23 years and was contemplating another job. And because they're getting 25 for retirement, they would stay.
Okay.
So the incentive is to stay as opposed to paying them,
I guess I would be curious to direct feedback from that 75 employees on, can they help us understand how this would affect their decisions about, is that too much to ask, or is
But like
that
for
enough?
clarification, like you said, that's not, because they're already 100% vested.
Right, but it's still, they would be.
For someone in their position or
Okay.
someone coming in behind them, I mean, there also would be maybe a little bit of, well, okay.
Yeah, but they're looking, I mean, they're in tier 3, so I mean, they're looking at that system. And of course, a lot of times, you know, people early in their career aren't necessarily looking at retirement. But still, you want to say, does this employment change make FPB employment more attractive?
Sorry. I guess I'd be curious to see the results of that. Okay.
So we'll see you back next month?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Currently, actually, among the tier 3, 75 employee, and the majority of them currently like 2%, they have to put it 4 for 2%. Right. I think a majority of them actually put it 4%. Correct.
The average deferral is 4.5% for employees that participate.
What's it?
The average deferral is 4.5% for employees that participate.
Okay. How many tier 3 currently enroll in this?
73 eligible and 65 are participating. So there's only 8 that weren't.
Majority.
Okay.
For to earn a 2%, they have put it 4 currently.
Which tells me they view it as an important thing, which, again, I think says they'll stay 5 if they know there's extra money out there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all. Item 7.11, consider approving addendum to the letter of engagement dated November 17, 2023 with Commonwealth Advocates effective June 15th through December 15th, 2024. This would be for the amount of $1,000 a month. We talked about this in the budget, and this makes no obligations beyond December 15th, but continues them for monitoring committees, things going on during the session, and then we'll reevaluate this in December.
So I penciled in your, I can't recall. I can't recall when you and I spoke, but I penciled in your changes on the agreement. And then if it meets with the board's approval tonight, we can send it on to back to Commonwealth and go from there.
So, any changes, corrections, or if not, do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Contract's approved. Next item, 7.12, consider renewal of tree trimming services to Wright's Tree Trimming. Jennifer.
The bid for tree trimming was last done in 2020, and it was a 3-year contract with 2 one-year renewal options. This will be our second renewal. So it is allowed in the bid for labor and equipment charge increase based on the consumer price index, and they have their proposal for the fiscal year 2025 is a 3.4 increase for labor and equipment charges. So we recommend we renew our last renewal, and it would be rebid for next year, starting for the July 1st, 2025 next year. And they do great. They
do good work.
They've been here at every big, weather event. They're here every day.
Well, and you can't put a price on it, but I think from what Travis has talked about is, and you're only one bad storm away from bad things happening, but to keep those trees trimmed, I think saves us a lot of overtime, a lot of cost from trees coming down, taking lines down, and we've had some bad storms. And Wright's been out there because we had that one storm. They were out there for a full day or more before we could even get to the lines. And I mean, everybody loves trees, but trees are not a utility's friend in a bad storm. So, I mean, it's an important service to keep those limbs cut back from the trees. I mean, the power lines as much as possible.
Mr. Chairman, if it's in order, I will make a motion to consider the renewal of the tree trimming agreement with Wright.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? You've been up here a lot tonight, Jennifer.
Yeah, at the end of the year.
Mr. General Manager, do you have any?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is item 9.1, transition of level 2 public charging stations from free to driver paid. This was in response to the city commission's actions, Travis?
That's correct. So the 3 level 2 charging stations we've had in service for a few years. There's been in place an agreement with the city. So the plant board paid all the capital costs to get those installed. We purchased the equipment, we did the installs. The city partnered with us to pay for the electric usage of those charging stations to make them free to drivers. It had always been an agreement that was at the city's leisure, so whenever they decided they wanted to stop paying those bills, that was their prerogative to make that decision. So they've done so. So next steps will be, the board has already approved a tariff with a rate for these charging stations. We'll spend a little time getting the messaging out there. We can put a message on the charging stations themselves. We can, maybe do a Facebook or some social media posts to kind of get the word out there so drivers know that it's coming. But it will be, when the drivers go to the charging station, they'll see the price on their app.
Right.
So the message will be out there. The drivers will know. So again, this is the informational item. The tariff's already approved. Just wanted to make sure everybody kind of was still on the same page, and if the board had any other.
And then with this change, they'll pay for the charge, and then the money will be remitted to us.
Correct.
To offset
Yes.
the electric cost.
Correct, yes. So the driver will use their app. They will pay ChargePoint. ChargePoint will collect the payment and send it to us.
And then just on a side issue, but part of this, the city still hasn't communicated to us where they want that. The level 3 charger we currently have in storage, we're still waiting on them for a location, right?
Correct. They understand we're kind of in easement limbo with option 1. That's been communicated with them. They seem to understand that predicament, and more or less we said, we kind of need you to tell us what you want us to do in terms of the location. So they're aware, and I think they're looking at options.
And when that's communicated to us, that would also be under this new policy that would have.
Correct. It will have a rate that we
Right.
set, and the drivers will pay to use it.
And the city will pay the electric charge up till August 1st, or are we gonna have to eat that for any length of time?
They seem to completely understand it was going to take us until, I guess at this point it'd be a month and a half. It was 2 months when we were trading the emails. They didn't have any issue with that.
And how much, again, how much is the total right now? And just roughly a month?
Yeah,
From all of them?
they're paying about $220 a month between all three.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, only things I want to add on is most EV user driver, before they go to charge station, they going to search on their app. They will know which one available. They know exactly what the rate is.
Yeah.
So it's not like they need to drive there to see it.
And our charging station are on those, since we're using ChargePoint, they've already got that app. They're gonna know where they are.
Actually, I looked at it yesterday. It's not free in the ChargePoint
Doesn't list
website.
as free in the app. Good.
Yes.
Well, good. Then no one will be disappointed.
Any questions of Travis for how this is gonna work or the change?
No.
So.
And we don't need to make any motion or anything, because we've already adopted the tariff, correct?
Right,
So-
correct. The tariff is adopted.
Okay,
Yep.
so we don't need to take any action at all hands? Okay, good. Next one, 9.2. Leanne, you want to come back? We've got as I understand it, you just late breaking news, you just got the bids in yesterday or today?
Yes, proposals were due yesterday. We received one from J. Curry Construction. It came in at $214,000. I have I've talked to 2 of his 3 business references, and they are all favorable. Both are. And also, I've not received his certificate of insurance yet, but I can get that.
What date, did he give a completion date?
No,
Okay,
but I can get that as well.
yeah. I mean, it's more than what we thought, but I also understand that when he gets in there and starts tearing into stuff, I'm sure he's built in something to know. He's kind of going in thinking what's he going to encounter also. So, but we had one bidder, and like I said, from what we know, it's reputable, local.
Yes.
And he did show up for the inspection, right?
Yes. He's been there a couple of times. He had been there. He was the one who gave me the original estimate of the $64,000 when we first started talking about this, before we had an engineer come and look at everything, so.
And he did, and what he basically bid was our checklist, correct? So, do we have any questions of?
So we'll have something to approve at the July meeting once we get all this.
I can bring it back July, yes.
And see if
Okay.
you can get a rough date on
Sure.
completion, just for planning purposes,
I can do that.
okay?
Well, can
Do we need to
go
take any action?
stronger on that
Answer
contract?
just, this is informational, right?
bring the contract back.
Right. Okay.
Catherine had a question.
Can we, I don't know what's typical, but can we go, like, stronger on that contract as far as a deadline? Like, if they don't meet it, then there's like some, I don't know, penalty or something, or is that something they would never agree to?
Hans, do you?
Well, typically, you don't want a penalty in you don't want to couch it as a penalty in your contract. You want to try to have damages, liquidated damages you can put in there for every day they're beyond the deadline. But I don't know about liquidated damages because you have to prove, there's a case out of Louisville, I think, that you have to prove your actual damages are in proportion to your liquidated damages so as that they're not a penalty, so they're not gross. Charmista knows all about this. She's heard me talk about all this.
We've been down this.
All about this.
We've been on this boat before.
Indeed,
yeah.
Indeed. So, but
Look at David left.
we can. We won't belabor the point tonight. Suffice to say, we can talk about that.
But I think the key on this, I think Catherine raised a good point, is we ought to ask for an estimated completion and the draw schedule in terms of, as work's completed, in terms of how they would draw the payment with some contingency or holdback. Like maybe if it's divided into 3 staggered payments, hold back 10% of each of those payments till complete. Some incentive to get it done, but also recognizing as the work's done, then to pay as the work's done, but not advance enough so that we don't have anything left at the end.
That I have to go back and look. I've got the Kentucky Fairness and Construction Act on your retainage and what you can retain from each payment and so forth. But we can come up with something.
Yeah.
Well,
And there has to be some milestones or benchmarks as the work's done, yeah.
Indeed.
just a thought, we got one bid.
Mhm.
He's good, they're good.
Yeah.
I'm concerned if we make him feel too tense so that we're gonna be grilling him. He might be like, I'm out, or I'll call you in 10 months when I open up, my new schedule opens. It is really hard to get I know around town, a contractor who can come in and take on a project without being 2 years on their schedule. So just a heads up, we might be a little careful.
So you take all that in, Leanne, as you bring it back to us?
it.
You got it?
I think we gave you the whole spectrum.
Thank
Loosey
you.
goosey, really tight, yeah.
The last time is I sent an email, John has got business in July that gives him a conflict on the regular board meeting, and I asked everybody to let Kathy know. I don't think she's heard
NCSL
from
trip.
anybody. So is everybody okay with moving the board meeting in July?
I'll have to be virtual on the 24th, I'll be
Okay.
in Michigan. But I could do the 17th, 18th, and 19th, if
Okay.
that's an option.
What do y'all want to do?
Like I
wanna be
said,
virtual.
it doesn't matter. I don't
We
want
need
to.
you
I don't
here,
want
sir.
to.
We
I don't
want
want
you
to.
here.
I don't want to inconvenience the rest of the board. I'm going to be out of the country until the 23rd, and I'm taking a red eye back into the country on the 23rd. So, as far as that's concerned, whatever y'all want to do. I haven't missed a regularly scheduled meeting yet, so I can afford to miss
I'm
one
okay
in
with
5
the
years. So,
Yeah,
You
as
don't
long as
mind
I'm
doing
okay
virtual?
virtual. No.
yeah.
Okay. So if there's no objection, do we have to take any action on that, Hans?
No, so we'll just notice it like a special meeting.
Okay, so then we'll meet on the 24th in July. Yes.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we've already had an exciting closed session, so I'm ready do we have a motion to adjourn?
So
Or does
moved.
anybody have any old or new business they want to bring up? Okay, now, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of leaving, say aye.
Aye.
Those that want to stay, say they want to stay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Well,